When Rachel Parent was 11, she did a speech for her class about food. What she learned about our food supply left her horrified. She was particularly concerned about genetically modified foods, which in Canada and the United States don't even have to be labeled. She created a website and a movement called Kids' Right to Know, and she's had a remarkable impact on the international debate about the benefits and dangers of industrial food. She's 16 years old.
A GMO is a genetically modified organism, and it's where they take DNA from one species and insert it into another to introduce a new trait. Now, of course, it sounds really complicated, but there, in reality, are only two main traits that are commercialized. So the two main traits are pesticide-producing and herbicide-resistant. Pesticide-producing is where they actually insert a pesticide directly into the seed. That way, when the plant grows and a bug tries to eat the plant, its stomach will theoretically explode. And herbicide-resistant is where the plant is engineered to withstand hundreds and hundreds of pounds of herbicides without killing the crop. I think a lot of people actually get hybridization and GMOs confused. And hybridization is something completely different. It can happen in nature. It's just the natural process of breeding plants. Whereas GMOs is taking completely different species and combining them. So to give you an example, hybridization would be like mixing a dog and a dog, whereas GMOs would be like mixing a dog and a cat. It just wouldn't happen.
What's the why? Why would you do that?
Well, the companies, because these seeds have then been changed, they can patent them, and when they sell them to the farmers, they can then make profits off of them. Not only do they make profits 1 year, but the farmers can't save their seeds because they are patented, and they have to continuously buy the seeds along with the pesticides, the herbicides, the extra fertilizers, year after year after year, making it much more costly for the farmers.
So it's like a financial treadmill for the farmer, right? Mm-hmm. Why would the farmer do that?
Well, there are many reasons. Some farmers are pro-biotech, and other farmers are subject to cross-pollination. And this happens quite often. Plants in nature, they breed. They pollinate. Bees carry pollen from one plant to another, and that's how we have the plants that we have. Without pollination, we wouldn't have produce, we wouldn't have our food. So naturally, other farms that are non-GMO become contaminated, and then Monsanto and the other biotech companies have to come in and they either sue these farmers or take away their farm and land. So that's oftentimes what these farmers are subjected to.
Now, this is like the Percy Schmeiser case in Saskatchewan, right? Mm-hmm. Touch on that one a little bit more, because I think for most people this is quite outrageous, right? I mean, here's Percy Schmeiser farming near a GMO field, and what happens to him?
Well, GMO pollen comes from one side of a different field and pollinates with his crops, and of course then he ends up having to deal with the issues and getting charged for it and having his land taken away and having to go to court for it. And it's really not fair to the farmers. There's been many farmers who go through this. There was a huge issue with Steve Marsh, who's out in Australia actually. And this was happening while I was in Australia. There was a huge court case, and instead of suing the biotech company, he decided to sue the next door farmer. And unfortunately, he ended up losing. But what this did was create a huge amount of awareness about this issue, and it affects hundreds and hundreds of farmers around the world. This is no longer just an issue of Canada or the US. This is global, and that's why we all have to unite to fight against it. I don't think, personally, that any youth is apathetic towards any issue. I think that everybody does have a deep sense of what's right and wrong. No matter what your age, you could be 3, or you could be 50, or you could be 80 or 90 or 10. It doesn't matter what your age is. I think we all have a deep sense of what's right and wrong, and everyone wants to make a difference in the world. Everyone wants to do what's right for our planet. I think the issue is that a lot of us don't know how. Don't know how to make the first step, how to get involved, or they think I'm too busy, like, you know, you can't make a difference because I have too much homework right now, or, but you don't have to go out and start your own organization, or you don't have to go out and sign petitions all the time, even just making small choices from home. That makes a huge difference. Growing your own garden, that can change a lot of things. I mean, that not only changes your diet, but that reconnects you with nature and our soil and our water and what we are truly meant to do. And so I think fundamentally, everybody has that sense of, I have to make a difference. It's just about actually getting out there and taking action.
Rachel Parent, an internationally recognized food activist who has achieved more in her first 16 years than most people do in a lifetime. If you're also concerned about our food supply and about the environmental impact of industrial agriculture, you may want to look at our interviews with Mohammed Hage, developer of the world's first commercial rooftop farm, Brian Brett, poet and author of the book Trauma Farm, A Rebel History of Rural Life, and Vandana Shiva, founder of Navdanya, a movement created to protect the diversity and integrity of living resources and to oppose what she calls the colonization of life itself. For the Green Interview, I'm Silver Donald Cameron. Thanks for watching.